Hey, what's up? It's Paul from Guitar World, and today we're going to be checking out the API Tranzformer GT Guitar Pedal. Now, what is it? It is basically API's legendary compressor circuit and equalizer in one versatile, incredibly robust guitar pedal / direct box. So let's check it out. The Tranzformer GT looks like it has been carved out of a recording console and may look daunting, but actually it's quite simple to use and understand. So let's take you through the knobs over here. Over here is your output level knob, more or less a set and forget knob to let you know how loud you're going to be here. Over here is the 200 Hertz knob, which is more or less your bass and low end frequency knob, which adds a great deal of body and warmth. Up here on top, your 1.5 kilohertz is your mid-range knob as your attack and articulation. Over here is your 5 kilohertz knob, which is your high-end, more or less your treble knob. So that part of this, just these three knobs, is your EQ circuit, and it is engaged by this single tone knob on-off switch. Over here on this side is the compressor circuit. On top over here, we have a gain input level where you basically set it, the incoming signal, and you use the clip LED to notice whether you are clipping or not. Over here is your compression knob, which is a rotary switch, which goes from numbers from 1 to 6. Starting at 1 is the least amount of compression, and as you move up the dial towards 6, it gives you the most amount of compression. So each number has been optimized for the amount of compression, and it is accessed simply by the compression switch on/off. Over here, this is the bypass switch. So bypass basically is the sound of this whole unit bypassed. Once I turn it off, now I am running through the circuit of the Tranzformer GT. Note that the Tranzformer GT needs the 18-volt power supply, which is included to run this. On the side panel of the Tranzformer GT, you can see we have an output, 1/4 inch out for instrument. There's also an XLR out, balanced output as well. Over here are 3 switches. On the top here, these are phase reverse switches. This one is for an unbalanced output. This is for balanced output. And last but not least, this switch is for a ground lift, which eliminates hum from ground loops. And obviously on the other side, there's a 1/4 inch instrument input. I'll begin by saying that the API Tranzformer GT is a very nuanced pedal. So while I'll be changing some of the parameters and moving the knobs, the sound or the tone may be subtle, but it's very noticeable to the player. So beginning with that, right now I have it in bypass mode, which is right now the sound of my amp. So let's hear that. And by disengaging it, now I'm into the circuit of the Tranzformer GT. So now here's where I can add compression and or tone to my sound. So let's begin by hearing how the EQ circuit works over here, turning on the tone. So by turning on, it livens up a bit. So now what I'll do is I'll add a bit more bass to it, and you'll hear the subtle change. I'll roll back a little bit of the bass frequency. And you can hear that difference. So let's bring it back up. Now let's add a little bit of the mid-range up here. And roll it back so you can hear the difference. finally, let's hear the treble circuit, which adds a lot more brilliance. And roll it back. So as you heard, using these three knobs here, you really get a wealth of tones. It's always finding the proper combination of warmth and body, some brilliance and edge, and of course, our attack, especially with the mid-range. So I'm pretty confident I have a really nice tone as far as EQ, so you'll hear it. Here is it before, which is not bad, but hear it now. So there you have it. Now, let's switch that off and move over to the compression side. So here is my bass tone again. Now I've added compression, and as I've mentioned before, on this compression circuit over here, which is numbered, the farther right I go adds more compression and less compression over here. And then, of course, you set your gain where you want it to be, and make sure you pay attention to the clip knob. I'm right at the threshold over here. But let's take a listen to the compression circuit. So as you just heard, the lower numbers offer the least amount of compression, and as I start to dial it up towards 5, you get the most amount of compression. And of course, a lot has to do with how you throttle the gain knob over here. Now let's add the tone circuit into the compression so you get to hear how both of them sound really nice together. So here we go. Let's add this in. So you heard just how beautifully rich and robust both circuits sound, especially taking that clean amp sound and really just adding a lot more detail and character to it. So in comparison, what you just heard, like this really rich sound, let's hear that compared to my original clean sound. Take a listen. Now switching to a more grittier, overdriven channel, I'll let you hear how the Tranzformer GT hits the front end of the amp as well. So here's what it sounds like bypassed. And now you can hear when I turn off the bypass how the tone, the EQ, and the compression hit the front end of the amp, so adding a little more oomph to the sound. API is well known in many recording studios, and now with their brand new multifunctional pedal, the Tranzformer GT, you now have even more control in sculpting your tone with their optimized compression and 3-band EQ for ultimate sonic versatility. Definitely check it out.